Hey everyone, Gary Simon of Corsetro. Today we're going to be creating this right here. All right, so as you can see, it's pretty cool looking, and we're going to be stepping into Adobe After Effects. We're going to be working solely there. We're going to create this user interface from scratch and then apply these animations to it. So there could be different use cases for this. For instance, you could be creating a promotional video for a web service that has a user interface, or you could be creating a portfolio. There's a lot of different reasons why you would do this, and it's really fun. So I'm going to assume you have little to no experience in After Effects, and I'm not going to be speeding through the video. Everything's going to be real time, and you're going to see every single step. And I think you, at the end, if you follow along, and I definitely watch till the end of the video, you're going to have a new skill, and you're going to want to keep doing this because it's really fun. All right, so I'm going to switch over to my desktop. Oh, but real quick, before we begin, make sure you check out my site, Corsetro.com, where you're going to find a bunch of courses on modern design and development. A lot are free, and the others you can access for the cost of buying me like a 6-pack each month. That's it. Now, also, it probably wouldn't hurt to subscribe here on YouTube, and be sure to make sure the notifications are turned on. All right, let's get back to it. And I have Adobe After Effects CC 2018, which just released recently, and along with a bunch of others in terms of CC updating to 2018. We want to click on New Composition. And so what happens here is there's a few things. I'm just going to call this UI. We want to make sure that the width is 1920 and the height is 1080. And then also frame rate, 60 frames per second. That's what we want, because if you have it at like a film frame rate, like at 24 or so, then it's not as smooth looking, and you want that smoothness. All right, so 60 there. And then for duration, it's not going to be 30 seconds long. So we're just going to give ourselves a little room to work with there and just make it 30 seconds here. Okay, background color doesn't really matter at this point. We're going to hit OK. All right. So the first thing I want to mention now, if you have never touched After Effects, let me just give an extremely simple rundown, because I'm not going to go over the entire interface. It would take too long. Basically over here is where your assets are stored, like your graphics and all of that, if you wanted to import them. Down here is the timeline, and right here is where your actual composition is. So we're going to be working just basically in those three areas. Over here is settings. There's like your type settings, your paragraph settings, alignment settings. That's the only area that we're going to be working in terms of this tool or area over here. And then we have the toolbar up top, and we'll be working with that a little bit as well. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to get right here, this simply means we're working on a transparent background. So let's create a new layer, or a solid rather, and we're going to make it, sorry, everything's showing up off the other screen. I was working on the other monitor. We're going to make it a very light gray. So it's like right here, it's F2, 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 and hit OK. Okay, so I'm going to click right here. I'm just going to put fit up to 100%, and that will fit it on my screen. And so now we want to, now, by the way, this point is where you have two decisions. You can either create the user interface in a different application like Sketch or Photoshop or Illustrator or Adobe Experience Design, and then you can export each asset individually as a higher resolution PNG file, for instance, and then you can import it here into After Effects and then just repiece the layout. Or your other option, which is what we're going to do, we're going to create the user interface from scratch here in Adobe After Effects. And if you can do that and you can get away with doing that, then that's what you want to do. So coming back here, the very first thing we're going to do is create the actual user interface containing element, or the container. And so to do that, we're going to click right here. I'm going to left click and hold and choose rounded rectangle tool. All right, so by the way, you want to make sure this is not selected, this background. In fact, let's lock it so we cannot select that background here. And so now, notice the fill. We're working at 100% white fill. Hit OK with no stroke. So when you click on that stroke, make sure it's on none. All right, so I'm going to left click and drag an area right around this size right there. Now to align it, we can click on align, choose this middle, and this middle over here for vertical and horizontal alignment. All right, so that's what yours should look like at this point. Okay, so now let's begin to actually create the user interface elements. And there's just going to be a portion that says users right here with 2 icons. So let's focus on that right now. And temporarily, I'm going to lock this as well. So I'm going to take the type tool, I'm going to left click, and we're just going to put with caps lock users. Now I'm going to make it a little bit larger. I'm going to hold shift and just drag that up. Now sometimes when you let go, it's going to warn you that the caps lock is turned on. You can just turn that off to get rid of that black screen that showed up. And over here under character, I'm using a font Railway. Everybody gives me gripe about always using Railway. Well, there's a reason. It's a nice looking font. I already have it installed, and I'm assuming you guys already also have it installed. And that way I don't have to keep on introducing new fonts. All right, so users here, let's, oops, we don't want to scale that down. I'm just gonna give ourselves some padding to work with. We're also gonna make it bold. That looks pretty good right there. All right, so next we're going to import a couple of iconfinder.com fonts, or not fonts, icons rather. So let me find that real quickly here. Darn, I don't have it up already. I'll just get a new window. Let me just show you real quick. Of course, every window is showing up off. Okay, iconfinder.com here. If I just type in user and I type in free and no link back, we can get absolutely 100% free to use icons here. The ones that I'm going to be using are like right here, like this plus right here. So if you click on it, then you want to download the SV or the PNG format right here. And I'm also downloading the minus version, like to add a user or remove a user or whatever like that. So drag those to your desktop somewhere, and we're going to import those just by left clicking on them from your desktop. You can't see this portion, by the way, and just drag them right here. And momentarily it'll show up. Okay, so I'm just going to click on one and just drag it over here. All right, way too large, obviously, so I'm just going to scale it down, holding shift. Yeah, right there seems like a pretty good size. All right, that looks good. Now coming over here, selecting it down here, I'm going to hit T, which is a shortcut to show the opacity. I don't know why they didn't make that O, but whatever, it's T. Now I'm not going to create a keyframe. I'm just going to set the default opacity to around 50%. So you just click there, hit 50, and you're good to go. So now it's a little bit lighter there. I didn't want it to have a ton of contrast, essentially. So let's get a position right around there. Select it. We're going to hit Control D, and that will duplicate it. With that duplicated selection right here, we're going to select the other one, which ends in 1.6 right here. Left click, hold it, drag it while holding Alt on top, and then that will copy it, except it's going to give us a different version. So it's going to give us a new asset in place of it while we're maintaining all the adjustments that we made with the opacity here. So now you can see those two right here. One is plus and one is an X. All right. So next, let's continue on by creating these little areas where we have just 3 different users here. We'll go ahead and take just the regular rectangular tool, not the rounded. And I'm going to left click right on the edge here and make it around this large. And for the fill, we're going to make a light blue. I'm going to use E9F9FF for the color code if you want to follow along there. And if you're not matched up evenly, you can always hold Alt in your scroll wheel. Pull that over. Same thing over here. We don't want it to extend beyond either. All right, there we go. Okay, so now let's go ahead and put, oh, it's looking like that was, oh, that's right. Every time you scale it and you drag that, it also affects the other side too. So just a warning. That looks good to me though. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna just take this, hit Control D, drag it over here and drag this to the very top. And this is going to be a name like Gary Simon. This is going to be regular. And it's going to be a lighter blue color, around 379.4E9. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. So it's at 20 right now. I'm going to make it like 16. Now, I'm not going to use an avatar, but this is in place of an avatar. So I'm going to use the ellipse tool. I'm going to left click, drag, hold Shift, Alt, and Control. So it'll size it from the center of our selection. And we want it to be white. I'm going to make it a little bit larger. Right here. And also we'll give it a stroke. And where is that stroke color at? Oh, you have to click here. We'll give it a stroke of like that. Make it like 3 pixels. All right, so in terms of design, you want to make sure your elements are all aligned up correctly and not looking terrible, etc. Make this a little bit bigger, 18. Next, we'll take this, duplicate it, Control D, move it over here, move this back up. And I'm going to put over here just like a location, like a city. Warren. Let's go over here to paragraph, and we'll right align these. And this is going to be scaled down quite a bit, so we'll try 14. And we'll make it just regular. All right, that looks good. So now that is it for the actual list item design. Now we're going to replicate it a couple times. So now we'll take all of those, and you want to make sure you don't have anything else selected, by the way, and it's just these right here. So with all 4 of those selected, we're going to hit Control D and then move them up to the very top like that. So they're situated. It's going to make our life a little bit easier, a little bit. And then just hold Shift and move them down, and then do that one more time. So Control D, move them up, move it down. Okay, right there looks pretty good. All right, so now I'm going to unlock this containing element and just scale it down just a tad bit. And then move it up. Okay, good. All right, great. Making progress. So far, so good. So now, at this point, now that we have the interface actually designed, this is the end state. That's all we needed to design. Now we need to start grouping it up appropriately so that we can animate it easily. And this is key because you don't want to sit here animating every single layer. You want to group these things up intelligently. And so watch what happens. And basically now we have, if you're familiar with Photoshop or Illustrator, you can create groups. A pre-comp is basically like a group. So once we have that, we're going to double click it. And this is where we're going to spend our time actually animating inside of this UI pre-comp. I probably should have named it something different. To rename it, we can hit enter, and we'll just put in UI animation. That way it's named something differently. So now let's go ahead and we're going to take all of our layers with exception to this container. So just all up here. And we're going to move them off to the side like this. So now we just have our container here. And what we want to do is to start out with the animation, we're going to scale it from 0 to 100%. So coming down, we're going to hit S for scale. And we're going to move off just maybe right around just under 2 seconds, basically. We're going to hit a keyframe right here at 100%. Then at the beginning, we're going to change it to 0. All right, so now if we go over here to our main composition and we hit the 0 on our number pad, we'll see what that looks like. Now we can change a couple things. We can change how the keyframes, in terms of the velocity, we have easy ease in, and easy ease out. So I'm going to put ease in. You see it changes the icons just briefly down there. Now, mind you, when you're watching this on my screen, I'm recording at 24 frames per second, so it may not appear as smooth as it should. I'm going to drag this in to make that a little bit faster. So next after that, we're going to take these 3 layers right here, and we're going to show them. And we're going to animate them slightly different. So right here, we'll say we'll put a keyframe for opacity and position. So to do that, we hit T for opacity while all 3 are selected, and then hold Shift and P for position. So now we have access to those 2 properties for all 3 layers. So we're going to put a keyframe for each one of those. We're going to move back here near the beginning, and we're going to drag it down while holding Shift right around there, and then also changing the opacity to 0. Now I'm going to take all of those, right click, keyframe, and easy ease in. Now if we go back and hit 0 on our number pad, there we go. Very cool. All right, so continue on after that. We have all these layers. We're not going to sit there and animate each one of those. We're going to make our lives rather, a little bit easier. So we're going to take these 4, which there's 4 layers that comprise those, the list over here. And we're going to pre-compose those. So layer, pre-compose, which is Control-Shift-C for future reference. We'll just call this user 1. And, oh, by the way, I'm going to back up, Control-Z to undo that. We're going to take all these and just move them to the very beginning. Because if you don't, then there's going to be a space in your pre-comp. So let's do that again real quickly. Take these 4, Control, Shift, and C, user 1. Do it again up here, Control, Shift, C, user 2. And Control, Shift, shit, I can't even talk, user 3. All right, awesome. So now we have all these 3. And we're going to take this one, put it right around here. All right, this is where it shows up. So if you want to view a little bit more of the time frame, you can, or the timeline, you hit Alt in your scroll wheel, and you'll be able to see a little bit finer details. All right, so this will also do basically what the users and this top portion is doing in terms of animation. So we're going to, once again, come out here. We'll make this a little bit longer animation. We're going to hit T, Shift P, and then we'll put a keyframe there for both of those. And then also we'll put, let's see here, one right here, and there we go. We'll go ahead and drag it down, holding Shift, right around there, and then also make the opacity 0. Select all of the keyframes, easy ease in. All right, so we're just going to copy that, drag this one over here, paste it right there. So Control V, I just pasted. So if you hit U, you'll see all the available keyframes, animations. And we'll do the same thing with this one. So we'll bring it over here, paste it, and there we go. So now we hit 0. Awesome. Very smooth. Let me show you one other thing that's really cool about pre-composing your layers. So right here in our main user interface composition, we can turn on this little icon right here, and that means it's going to be a 3D layer. So if we draw this down and go to transform, we can see we have X rotation, Y rotation, Z rotation, and orientation. If I change this middle one here, look at that. We can create a sort of 3D perspective. And so now, if I hit 0, now it loads a little slow initially, but this is real time right here. Very cool. All right, awesome. So let's continue on. Let's simulate what it looks like to click on one of these. So we'll say the middle one. All right, so after a certain point, about a second or so, or maybe about 2 seconds, we'll turn it blue. So let's go ahead and double click that. And so now we're in this user pre-comp right here. So right around here, I'm going to take this layer, hit Control D, and hit Alt and the left bracket, and that'll basically take that current time of that frame and put it right to where you're at in the timeline. And we're going to change the color to blue. All right, next we're going to do the same thing with the two type layers. So right here, right here, and right here. We're going to hit Control D, and then Alt, and then left bracket. And these are going to be white. Very easy. Awesome. What I also want to do, instead of just abruptly making it blue, we can apply a slight fade-in animation. So we'll hit T, opacity will be 0 initially, and then 100%. Okay, so now let's go ahead and try that out. Awesome. So let's drag that in just a little bit, these three. There we go. Oops. Yeah, you do want to save this for sure. Okay, so now we go back, hit 0. There we go, perfect. Now what if we wanted to move it up and then hide the other ones? All right, well, let's go back to UI animation. And right here, we'll start moving this up. So we're going to put a position keyframe right there and then move it up maybe just right around here. Sometimes you got to eyeball these things and just experiment. And then we'll move the position up by holding Shift. Right there. All right, great. So then the other ones right here and here, let's go ahead and hit U for both of those. And at the same time this is moving up, we'll move these down and fade them out. So we'll put keyframes, let's see, right here and here. And then we'll make these fade out faster maybe. We'll move them down and change the opacity to 0. Let's go ahead and take all 4 of those and keyframe assistant, easy ease in. All right, save it, hit 0. Awesome. All right, so one final thing. When we get to this point, we'll go to our user 2. We'll go ahead and copy this, so duplicate it, Control D. And just after it changes to blue, we'll drop down a secondary panel. All right, so let's hit U on here and clear out any keyframes. We'll delete those. We're going to also position this underneath. And I'm going to use my down key for the arrow just to move it down. Also, make sure the opacity is at 100%. And we're going to change the color to a darker blue. Right around there, it's 1C4859. And let's move this down. Make it a little bit taller. Let's see what it looks like in the UI animation panel in relation to the height of the parent panel. Make it a little bit taller. All right, that's good. And then go back here. We're going to grow this. So right around here, we'll put in a, let's see, we'll do a size. So we hit, or a scale rather, hit S. And we'll also do P, so Shift P for position. Make 2 keyframes there. And then down here, we'll scale it vertically. And then we'll also move it up behind. So it'll just drop right down. All right, so let's put some keyframe velocity there. We're also going to add some type here. So left click and drag out to create a type area. and we'll left align it in paragraph. And for now, I'm just going to put some lorem ipsum text here. So I'm going to lipsum.com. I'm going to copy all of this, close that out, and paste it in. We'll make some adjustments to the type and character panel. Right there seems to be pretty good, and the line height seems to be decent there. Let's also change the color. We'll get this background color and make it lighter. Right around there. That's 7CBBD3. And this one, we're going to Alt left bracket. We'll just fade it in. So hit T for opacity. Initially it'd be 0, so put a keyframe there. And then 100%. Save it. All right, guys, we're getting real close. Let's try this out. It's loading slow. Needs to preload first. Awesome. All right, so let's take the end of this timeline, just drag it right around here, hit 0. Awesome. Okay, so now let's also rotate this thing. This is going to be like the final step, by the way. Thank you for watching so far. So now let's go ahead and we will start to rotate it right here, I think. So we'll put in a keyframe for orientation. And then once it gets to the very end, right here in the middle, it's kind of hard to see. We're going to make it face this way. All right. I'm just going to let it preload. It's loading extra slow because it still needs to get this into memory here and render it. All right, so here it is. Awesome. That is sleek. And this went very well. I'm glad I didn't make any major screw ups. So obviously you can do a lot more with this. We kind of just ran through it. And so now the sky's the limit because you learned a ton just in this tutorial. So make sure you check out my site, Coursetro.com. You have a lot of different stuff. This is a full stack developer channel. So today we're focusing on, more the design and animation side of things. And, who knows, maybe tomorrow, I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow. It'll be more on the coder side. If you haven't, subscribe here and make sure that the notifications are turned on so you get notified every time I upload a new video. All right, I'll talk to you later.